Hey y'all, welcome back to Gadfly, the podcast about third parties, French candidates, and just generally weird American electoral history. I'm Dusty Wilson.
I'm Una O'Leary.
And yeah, we're back today with a bit of a, what's a good way to put it? I would say a last minute assignment is a good way to put it.
I thought you were going to say feel good episode, but
no,
never mind.
No, this is like a feel middle episode. It's an is what it is sort of episode.
Welcome to purgatory.
Pretty much. And it helps that it's set in modern times, so of course it's purgatory.
Welcome to the millennial everyday.
Oh my God. That's pretty much what this podcast is going to turn into, is just, what's the word? A simulation for millennial living. Anyway, yeah, so the day this episode comes out, we're going to be about 4 days out from Election Day. And so elections in odd-numbered years are typically not very exciting affairs here in America.
I can't even remember that they exist. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. It's, being in Chicago, we get one every 4 years to vote for a mayor. That's about it. But aside from that, there's a couple governor races. There's one in Virginia. There's one in New Jersey. There's a couple special elections going on for congressional seats in Florida and Ohio. But none of them really fit the sort of things that we talk about on here. The New Jersey race is pretty much in the bag for incumbent Phil Murphy. The Virginia gubernatorial race is close, but about the only thing that we could talk about is Princess Blanding is currently the only third-party candidate on the ballot. She's running on the Liberation Party. Mm-hmm. She's currently polling at around 1%.
That sounds about right.
But it's enough of a percent that if Terry McAuliffe, the Democratic nominee, loses, we're going to be getting months about how third-party candidates are just the worst. Terry McAuliffe was a bad candidate or not exciting.
Yeah, or just general rat fucking of polling districts that are heavily minority based.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's
disenfranchisement, people.
Yeah, it's not great, but no, it's Princess Blanding's fault. It's the sister of a murdered person. It's like not. Yeah, Princess Blanding has an interesting history, and if she decides to make a full career of politics, then we'll probably do an episode on her in the future. But as of right now, we can't really do an episode about third-party candidates who have the best chance of winning, because for the most part, none of them have any chance in any of the major races.
2021.
Yeah,
we're just waiting until the midterms.
Pretty much. This is just like an aperitif, and not a very good one. So we got to look a little deeper. And for that, we got to look at mayoral elections. Now, most major cities hold their mayoral elections on odd-numbered years for some reason. And this year, we have a few dozen cities going to the polls. And of them, there's only a few that are interesting. Most notably in Buffalo, incumbent Mayor Byron Brown was bested by Democratic Socialist India Walton in the primary. But after calling in some favors with a judge he knows, Byron was able to get on the general election ballot after the filing deadline as a write-in candidate. And now, the race is a coin flip as to who might win. In Pittsburgh and Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, incumbent mayors have both lost by close margins in the Democratic primary, but unlike Byron Brown, they've taken the side of basic dignity and chosen to follow the will of the people, essentially guaranteeing that both cities will have a new Democratic mayor. And in Minneapolis, Democratic Mayor Jacob Fry is facing a strong push against him, primarily due to his reaction to the George Floyd protests in 2020 and his consistent siding with the police over local activists, which has led to former state representative Kate Knuth and community organizer Sheila Nazad to lead a strong campaign against him.
Yeah, look, bro, lie down with dogs, wake up with fleas.
It really, for a millennial mayor, we're not doing great so far. We got Jacob Fry, we got Pete Buttigieg. We do. It's sorry. We're so sorry. We're always sorry. So we got to start getting better millennial mayors at this point. That's the lesson. But yeah, so there's a lot of interesting races going on, but they're all major party sort of politics. None of them are super weird or unique. It's just like Jacob Fry is pretty much the sort of milquetoast Democrat who could have done great if there wasn't a social upheaval in 2020. But
but that's where we are, Jake.
I know, you don't pick the cards you get. This is where you are and you fucked up.
Yeah.
So
move further left or get the fuck out.
Exactly. So none of these races are really what we kind of talk about. So I kind of had to start looking around to try to find a story that I could actually talk about for 2021, because it feels weird to have an election coming up and me just being like, I don't know what to fucking tell you, man. We're going to talk about some weirdo instead.
Vote.
I mean, that does help. Go and vote if you have an election going on. Most everyone does, which reminds me, I should probably look at what Chicago has, if anything, to vote on.
I don't think we have anything coming up.
We should take a look at that. So this is a good reminder
I would have seen something.
I know. This is a good reminder for literally everyone in America. Whether you think you have to vote on the 2nd or not, just check it out.
Just double
look and see. So I figured Tuesday night will ultimately decide a number of jobs, and one of them is the worst job you could possibly want if you're ever going into politics. It is literally a black hole of progression. If you have this job, your odds of getting something better in the future is pretty much non-existent.
Ooh, this is the dead letter of elected positions.
Oh, it's easily. It's the mayor of New York City. It is one of the shittiest jobs that you can get. You're pretty much guaranteed to be hated by a whole city who are absolute professionals at making grown men cry in public. But also, like I said, it's a dead-end job that has ruined more promising careers than most other elected positions in this country. Most notably, a number of them seem to think it will be a great stepping stone to end up in the presidency, but most of those attempts have ended up being, what's the word I'm looking for? Horrible embarrassments.
This is so true. And you're right. Everyone thinks that they're just going to like use this to catapult into a national election. And it's just like, have you not been listening to Fox for the past 25 years? Like, literally, you are the mayor of the new Babylon.
Yep.
Like, you are Sodom and Gomorrah as far as the rest of the country goes.
Yeah. Like, no one, let alone in the city, let alone the country, is going to be happy with what you do. Republican, Democrat, centrist, there is nothing you can do that can make you a beloved figure. The closest we got is one dude was there when one of the worst tragedies to befall the city happened. And all he had to do was not take a shit on national TV.
And he managed to not take a shit.
Look, if it was 2020, who knows? But yeah, he did just fine and built a career on that. But yeah, for some reason, there is just a laundry list of mayors of New York City who have attempted to run for president and have failed miserably. Most recently, there's independent Republican Democrat Mike Bloomberg, who decided to pump a ton of his own money into the Democratic primary in 2020. He got completely embarrassed on national TV by Senator Elizabeth Warren, and then dropped out after winning one primary in the territory of American Samoa.
He won Samoa.
He won American Samoa, not even all of Samoa, just the American part. I'd also completely forgotten that Bill de Blasio ran for president in the exact same primary.
Oh, so had I. Oh my God, you're right. You're right. Well, it's just like, I realize New York City is like our cultural capital, certainly large enough to walk around assuming that at any given point it could just detach from the rest of the states and act as a new Singapore. But you're still just a mayor of a city.
Yeah, at best you're a mayor.
Continue thinking of Pete Buttigieg in this situation.
Don't get me wrong, mayor's a tough job, especially of a larger city, but it's still the dorkiest fucking job you can have in politics. It's very hard to move on from mayor to a bigger position like president. You could become a congressman after that. That's a nice, easy transition. You could move into the state house, do something like that. Hell, occasionally you can be a governor. But this fucking idea that you can go from being a mayor of anything to the president of the entire country is a fucking fool's errand.
Yeah. Have any of these candidates ever tried to at least leapfrog a little bit into, say, a senator position?
No, not really.
You guys.
Well, let's look at 2008 with one Rudolph Giuliani, who decided, I'm going to take this respectability I earned 7 years prior, and I'm going to try to be president. And he did one of the most amazing things in regards to failures. Typically, whoever is leading the Republican polls for president the August before the primary starts is going to end up being the nominee. And typically, whoever the Democrat is leading that poll will not win. Joe Biden is one of the few people who has been able to hold a popularity and still win the presidency in general.
I love it. I love how it's like, if you start off popular, we'll only find your faults in the Democratic Party. We'll only realize that we should never meet our heroes. Whereas with the Republicans, it's like, this is great.
Yeah, I've already decided. Fuck you. And so Giuliani is way ahead the August before the primaries, and then just proceeds to shit the bed repeatedly in 2008, leading the way to a wonderful Mitt Romney nomination. But his big failing is he decided to put all of his eggs into the Florida primary, thinking that if he won that he's pretty much guaranteed to end up taking the lead, which will then give him...
not that far away.
Exactly, yeah. And he ends up finishing in third.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
He just bet everything on red and it turned out black.
Oh, 100%. And then a couple days later, he's got to drop out of the election. Let's go back to 1972 when the last Republican before Rudy Giuliani, John Lindsay, decided he was going to run. Turns out he also fucked up majorly in Florida and ended up having to drop out. George McClellan Jr. would end up getting 3 delegates in the 1904 convention, which was good enough for 9th. And William J. Gaynor was also getting a huge push to run in 1914, but he ended up getting assassinated in 1913, and that kind of makes it hard to win.
What? Maybe he's the origin of the curse.
Well, the person who came the closest would be a guy by the name of DeWitt Clinton, who ran against James Madison in 1812 and lost by 39 electoral votes. The presidency aside, the last time a mayor of New York City was able to get a higher elected office of any kind after their term was in 1869 when John Hoffman was elected to governor of the state. And Hoffman was also considering a run for the presidency in 1872, but thanks to his connection with the most corrupt man in American history, Boss Tweed, his reputation was ruined. He declined to run and chose to retire from politics entirely.
I have to go take care of my family, which is a phrase no one has ever heard of before in this era.
He invented the phrase, I have to take care of my family. Good day, sir.
To go spend more time with my family. And they're like, what? Why would you do that? Good sir. Maybe he's the origin of the curse.
It's literally been 150 years since someone has been able to turn the mayorship of New York City into a stepping stone of any kind.
Well, sure, because it's like, again, it is extreme local politics. And then they want to act like, oh, because it's also an enormous city, that still transfers over to, I don't know, foreign policy.
Yep. It's really tough. I'm not going to pretend like New York City is an easy city to govern. Not only do you have to deal with corrupt politicians locally, you have to deal with corrupt politicians statewide. You have to fight like hell to be able to get the money that you can.
Sometimes there's a Cuomo.
Sometimes there is a Cuomo. And you have to deal with just an extraordinarily diverse population. It's pretty much a guarantee at some point you're going to fuck up big. And it might end up being your fault. 9 times out of 10 it is. Every once in a while something's going to happen that's completely out of your control.
Yeah.
And you still have to suck it up.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, happens when you're president a lot. But if anything, it's kind of like a nice little incubator to prove that one person shouldn't be president.
Ooh, interesting take, Dusty.
Yeah, it's a really good way for the country to be like, all right, we know that guy shouldn't be president. We know one guy we can say no to. So for this episode, we're going to talk about the people who are running for mayor of New York City. Yes. Because contrary to public opinion, the race isn't done yet. There was a primary that happened during the summer that led to a guy by the name of Eric Adams winning the Democratic primary nomination. But that's not the end of the election. There's still another 8 people running against him.
Yeah, and I would say, like, with Chicago, the Democratic primary is the election.
If we still had it, we actually no longer, most cities get around this by having nonpartisan elections. So that way it's just everyone runs at once and you pick a top 2 from that, and then you go from there for the next round. So
New York City, we do in Chicago?
Yep, that's what we do in Chicago. We actually covered this in a previous episode. The last Republican to get nominated in Chicago for mayor used to be a professional clown, and the Republicans did not like that. So they eventually passed a law that said Chicago has to have nonpartisan elections.
This is jogging my memory now. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, really, it's not a bad way to go about doing things. You do have to do a little bit more research, but not a whole lot. And I mean, New York is one of the rare examples of a city that still has primaries for their mayoral race. But yeah, I think we need to at least start to talk about the shoe-in for winner, the guy that we all expect to win anyway, former state senator, Brooklyn Borough President, Democrat nominee, Eric Adams. Now, Eric was born in Brooklyn in 1960 and grew up in public housing in the neighborhood of Bushwick. Now, for a lot of these candidates, we're going to be talking about hyper-local neighborhoods. You don't got to know a ton about them, but if you want to look into them a little deeper, feel free to Wikipedia that. Have some fun.
Or just go on a deep dive of Notorious B.I.G. hits.
Yeah.
And Nas.
Oh yeah, you know more about New York City than I do, right? Technically?
A wee bit.
I
lived on a cousin's couch in Carroll Gardens because I could not afford it on my own.
That sounds about right. Yeah, we're going to be talking a lot about housing in this episode, so that's going to be great.
I love it. Let's dive in.
So he grew up in Bushwick before it was like a hipster sort of neighborhood, to my understanding. Mm-hmm. His mother worked double shifts as a house cleaner while his dad worked as a butcher while dealing with his own alcoholism. The family would be able to save up enough money and eventually move to South Jamaica, a neighborhood in Queens. Now, at the age of 14, Eric would end up joining the Seven Crowns gang, mostly performing menial tasks for them. The next year, though, Eric would be caught stealing a TV and a money order from a sex worker. He would be brought in by the NYPD, where they did what they usually do, and took turns beating the ever-loving shit out of him.
Oh.
And this happened until a black officer intervened and told them to stop. Now, after this moment, Eric would get probation, but he would suffer from PTSD to the violence that he endured from the police. The thing though was he was really intrigued by this one black officer who was able to get them to stop. And after talking to his pastor, he realized what he wanted to do in life was to become a cop that changed things from the inside in the NYPD.
I mean, okay.
Yeah, I had the same reaction. It is really cool that one cop stepped in and stopped those guys. Guarantee that dude didn't turn them in. And if he did, he probably got fired. I mean, more than likely, he probably got fired for stopping them to begin with.
I was definitely putting his own security on the line to
100%.
Stop these white cops from beating the shit out of a kid.
Yeah, but it's just such an interesting origin story for me where this guy decides, I'm going to end the institutional racism of a job that was created by slave hunters.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big swing. I'll give him that. It's a very big swing.
I mean, I can float along in the origin story psychology of like, I'm going to become the thing that scares me the most. And that way it won't scare me.
Yeah, you become the bat.
Yes.
It's a very New York.
Gotham.
You know what? It's a very New York way of thinking of things. You've convinced me otherwise. Well done. So in 1978, he'd graduate from high school. He'd get his associate's degree from New York City College of Technology and his bachelor's degree in criminal justice from City University of New York, which I'll be referring to as CUNY from here on out. And then he got his master's degree in public administration from Marist College. And in 1984, he would fulfill his dream and join the NYPD. And he got to work changing the system from the inside. And it did not go as planned. Within 2 years, he would be operating as a plainclothes cop, just kind of doing investigations and stuff. And a bunch of NYPD officers drew their gun on him.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. It's like, bro, you need to stop and realize just how, like, he's coming in after a decade's worth of movies about how corrupt the NYPD is. Like,
100%.
We're talking French Connection here.
Yeah, but it's also around the same time that we're starting to get the Dirty Harry movies where you gotta get Serpico. You gotta get like a cop on the edge who's just gonna do whatever needs to be done.
Yes.
Never a black guy, really. Like Danny Glover's there, but he's always too old for this shit.
He just wants your badge and gun.
Look, man, I just want to go home. Can we stop? It's a miracle I'm still alive and can get my pension. Can we just leave? Either which way. So he doesn't really get that much citywide attention until around 1993. Now, at that time, the mayor of New York was a dude named David Dinkins, who was the first African-American mayor of New York City. And he's running for re-election in 93. And during that time, he's running against a former congressman by the name of Herman Badillo. Now, Badillo's kind of known as a huge figure in the Puerto Rican community, was making a huge push against Dinkins in the primary, and Eric decided now would be the time for him to make a public statement, and essentially said that if Badillo really cared as much about the Puerto Rican community as he claims, then he wouldn't have married a Jew. Yep, it's time for the anti-Semite minute. So I am going to couch this in the fact that a number of Jewish newspapers have endorsed Eric Adams for mayor. A lot of this seems to be his opinion of the time. And another thing we kind of have to remember is this is during the time of the Crown Heights riots, wherein a number of African-American men beat a Jewish man to death, if I'm remembering correctly, and then a number of riots ensued from that. There was already a very palpable amount of tension between the Jewish and Black communities in Crown Heights, and ended up kickstarting a fuck ton of violence. So yeah, this is a good thing to say in the middle of a year where shit like that is about to go down. It also really wasn't helping David Dinkins at all either, but whatever. But the other major thing is that it was at this time, Eric was also working with the Nation of Islam. And essentially, look, I will give them props on this. What they were doing was, since the NYPD was refusing to do their jobs in impoverished and Black communities, the Nation of Islam decided to police their own communities and operate more as like a citizens police force. And that's at least got to be a small improvement over the NYPD. But at the same time, Louis Farrakhan has made it very clear that he does not care for Jewish people. And yeah, so 93 was the year that Eric Adams decided he was going to start getting into politics, and his efforts didn't really help, but definitely aided a little bit in making sure that David Dinkins did not get reelected, which led to Rudy Giuliani becoming mayor of New York for about 8 years.
Congratulations, Eric.
Thanks a lot. Big preach, as the children say. But you know what? Let's try this again. So in 1994, Eric would try to get on the ballot to run for the U.S. Congress in New York's 11th district. However, he wasn't able to get enough signatures together, so he never ended up on the ballot and was never able to get into the Democratic primary to begin with. The next year, he would found an organization called 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement Who Care. The goal of the organization is to improve the relationship between the Black community and the NYPD, which the NYPD has embraced by never recognizing 100 Blacks as an official group or making any effort to work aside them in any way.
Cool, guys.
Yeah,
cool.
Neat.
Wow. Just start burning crosses while you're at it. Jesus Christ.
Oh, I mean, we'll get to that story one day.
Oh.
But it should be noted, too, that 100 Blacks still exists today, and the vast majority of members are all retired from the police as of right now. The NYPD still does not recognize them whatsoever. So in 1997, Adams would end up doing something that today has caused just a bit of concern towards his Democratic credentials. In 1997, he joined the Republican Party.
Okay, I mean, listen, I for one will not be a purist when it comes to politics. Sure. You know, if it's like you start off as Republican and then move it over to the Democratic side, like, cool, that's called evolving. That's a good thing. That's fine.
So when asked why he had joined the Republican Party in 97, Eric would state that it was a direct protest against the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act, or as it's colloquially known here in America, the Clinton Crime Bill. And do not get me wrong, he is not wrong to dislike it. It is probably one of the most damaging bits of legislation that we have ever had in this country. It has led to massive incarceration of the population. It's the reason that we had the 3 strikes rule. It's the reason that a lot of youth are sent to juvenile prisons rather than any sort of local rehabilitation program or any sort of social services. It is essentially designed to expand the prison industrial complex to the level that it is today. And I get why he would want to change parties for that. He described that switching over to the Republicans in 97 was his own form of protest against that particular bill. And he says he continued to vote Democrat, that he continued to be a Democrat. He just didn't want to be associated with the Democrats at the time.
Okay, I get that, but then like, whatever happened to changing it from the inside, Eric?
Yeah, that is definitely one of the weirder things. And it should be noted too that the bill was passed in 94 and he changed his affiliation 3 years later.
I mean, I guess within 3 years, you realize just how fucked the bill itself is.
True. Yeah, I would get that. But yeah, it definitely leaves the question of like, okay, this is bad. We all agree that it's bad. What are you doing about it? You are the person who would be arresting these people. Other than starting your group that the NYPD refuses to acknowledge, what are you doing?
Right. It's like what we need are more Democrats, again, on the inside, who look at that and be like, can we just not try to out-Republican the Republicans right now? We're doing gangbusters otherwise.
So he would stay as a Republican from 97 until 2001. And it's at that time he switched back to being a member of the Democratic Party. Now, Eric would officially retire from the NYPD in 2006 at the rank of captain. And this was because he had made it onto the ballot for the New York State Senate of the 20th District. From here, Eric would never have another difficult election until 2021. He would win the 2006 primary with 77% of the vote and easily won the general election 97.5 to 2.5. In fact, for the next 3 election campaigns, he would never finish below 92%. And in 2013, he switched over to Brooklyn Borough President and once again cruised to an easy win and an easy re-election in 2017. Which brings us to 2021, where Eric would hop into the race that was all but Andrew Yang's to lose and end up winning in the 8th round of a ranked choice primary by 0.8%.
Whoa.
Yeah, Catherine Garcia, who was she was the head of sanitation, essentially.
Yes.
Came very, very close of winning. And there were a lot of people who kind of considered her to be the dark horse best bet, because if you can do well enough in sanitation that people know your name and don't hate you, then yeah, you probably should be mayor of New York. But yeah, she ended up losing in the 8th round by less than 1%. And this is kind of despite Eric maybe not even living in New York City.
What?
So this is a long tradition of politicians from New York City, is that they might live in Westchester or New Jersey or Pennsylvania. And there were some people who were like, hey, Eric, where's your home? And initially said, oh, I live in Bed-Stuy. I have a row house there. I live there. He also owns a co-op in Prospect Heights, which is a neighborhood in Brooklyn. But he also kind of owns one in Fort Lee, which is a city in New Jersey that's right across the Washington Bridge.
Yeah, and like a strong Korean enclave.
Yeah. And so a lot of people were like, hey, Eric, we'd really like to know where you live. And so he gave a tour of where he lives in his row house in Bed-Stuy. And what you ended up finding was a garden unit, or at least that's kind of how it looked because it was so late at night. His son was there, and it looked very much like a 20-something-year-old lived there and not a grown-ass man.
Oh, this is shady.
But it led to a number of questions. However, he would end up presenting his Easy Pass, which is the thing that helps show whether or not you're crossing the bridge to go into New Jersey or not. It helps you pay the tolls and all that. And it showed that he'd only traveled a dozen times to New Jersey in the past year. But at the same time, it's like, other people could drive you, or you could take the train, or I don't know.
Why Fort Lee? This is what, is it for the taxes?
I guess. I don't know. It's such a strange thing. I guess if you want to get out of the city, Fort Lee is the closest you can go without having to go far.
Why even? None of this makes sense. None of it.
Which is why I tend to, it's not like Pedro Espada levels of clearly living in Westchester County.
Definitely, right.
There's enough of a confusion there. And there are people who have definitely said that during the pandemic, Eric just stayed at the office and slept there. So, I honestly kind of view his co-op in Fort Lee as an investment, and that's probably nothing more than that. But
that makes sense.
He occasionally stays there.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so it's a question mark, but I don't think it's like a clearly that he's doing anything bad. I think there's other stuff that he's done that creates a bigger question mark. Yeah, I think
on this issue, we can say he's Crooklyn through and through.
100%. Yeah, I think this is the sort of thing that if people are going to say shit about Eric, it's probably the weakest sauce that you can throw.
Yeah.
But there are bigger questions in this whole world, and that is, what does Eric want to do? What's he going to do to New York? And he talks sexy to me because he has a 40-page PDF of plans.
Oh, wow. Yeah, straight to your heart and straight away from me.
Oh, it is political pornography. Hit me with that shit. I want fucking details. Show me a spreadsheet. I want it. And he's entitled it. This is a little less sexy, I'll admit this. Eric's 100+ step plan, which It kind of has the sound of someone who wants to start a record label and is planning things way too well, but clearly doesn't know what they're doing.
Someone who's planning a record label, but they're 15.
100%. Yeah. It's like you don't need to list every microphone you're going to buy. You don't have to be like, I need to buy a drum kit for the session musician to use. Here are the top 10 drum kits I plan to get. It's not going to work out. So, but if you're going to give me 40 pages of well-designed ideas, then you know what? You don't have to buy me dinner first. I'm in. Let's go. So I read the whole thing, and I will say there's pros and there's cons and there's things that, I have some questions about. So let's start with the pros, the things that actually sound good. He wants to put all city services under one operating computer program. So no more of each department using their own in-house tool, which, yeah, I mean, that should be a common sense thing. It probably should be the same tool for all governments in all cities, but good luck agreeing on that.
But that's also something where it's like, yes, New York would revolutionize it, because it goes back to that fact of like New York acting as its own little independent Singaporean nation.
Oh, 100%.
Like,
yeah.
Yes, go
With
for
all
it.
the services and divisions and departments that they have, I have to look at it on a fairly regular basis, and I still don't understand it. There is just so much going on in that city that
yeah. I mean, without even getting into how the various ways that the MTA is regulated by both the state and the government, but yes, yeah.
It's mind-boggling. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense that modernizing that under one tool is a really good plan. And if you can get it to work, then that's probably one of the bigger accomplishments you can have as a mayor.
Yeah, and the last thing on the first of many issues is I agree. It's like I would like to see that acknowledgement pop up more and more in planks in people running for office in the coming years. I would also appreciate just like some kind of acknowledgement within that about how it's not going to happen overnight. Just the awareness of how, because I feel like people put that on there because it sounds flashy and because people who just assume it'll happen quickly, because it's like, I don't know, just fucking use Squarespace. How hard can this be? I got a website up for my campaign. It's like, no. This is going to be like a year or 5 years. So like plan on it.
Look, if there's anything we've learned from the insurance marketplace, the federal government can make something quickly that works immediately and has no bugs. So, but yeah, I think that's a really good point. And one of my big things is if anyone promises you a common sense solution, they are lying to your face. We've tried them all by now. There is no such thing as a common sense solution. There are difficult long-term solutions, and that is it.
I just have, like, the minute I just want the ability to like slap the person the minute the phrase common sense solution is uttered. I want that right as an American.
Yep, that would be great. I can kick you in the shin, and if you keep doing it, I'm allowed to go an inch higher.
Like Batman and Robin meme style. Like common sense, shut up!
Shut up! So that's one good thing. All right, good job there.
Number one.
He also wants to increase taxes on anyone who makes more than $5 million a year for a period of 2 years.
Yeah, bleed them dry. Suck their money. Do it.
Taking money from rich people is never something I will be mad at, even if by some goddamn miracle I end up being a rich person.
It's never going to happen for me. Just let me live in the knowledge that they're paying for my roads.
Fucking bring me a 40-page PDF of what you plan to use with it, and it's yours. Have fun.
Put it towards that website building.
Oh my God, yes. Anyway, all right, sorry. Publicize a list of cops that the city is tracking as problem officers and make it easier for cops to report shit cops without getting in trouble or having their lives put in danger.
Yeah, I mean, make that national. Just get them off the street.
He wants to end commercial rent tax for 2 years, which, yeah, I mean, after the pandemic, sure.
There needs to be a caveat there, because it's one thing if it's another Chase and Dwayne Reed suddenly not having to pay commercial tax, and a third thing if it's, just so many of the little independent stores that have been going out of business for decades now because of places like Chase and Dwayne Reed and the rising rent.
He wants to create a network of community-based banks to be able to fill in neighborhoods where banks refuse to go.
Yeah, 100%. Make them credit unions.
He wants to encourage a return to urban agriculture, which I'm a huge fan of. I think that's a great way to be able to get people. Well, I mean, I'm very hugely anti-work nowadays. So being able to do something that you're passionate about and to be able to make money from your own labor and be your own boss, that's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
He wants to repurpose empty office buildings into affordable housing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be a ton of them now that work from home's become a thing. And yeah, I think that's the most sensible thing to do. He wants to establish universal broadband access. And finally, and this is something that I'm really excited because a number of candidates have made this a major part of their plank. He wants to make all public housing pet friendly.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to cry.
Yeah. There's been a huge thing that now you have to have a pet that's 15 pounds or under to be allowed within public housing, mainly due to a misconception of larger dogs and things like that. But it's pets are great. We're pro pet here. We support thruples, cocaine, and pets. It is.
Wait, what?
Yep. Nope, not coming back. All right. So we've got all the good stuff. Now some things I think we can debate on. He wants to launch a website called My City, which he's referred to as a 311 for the digital age, which essentially will put all of the city services available through one direct website, which kind of falls into the same problem as before. You not only now do you have to get all of the divisions and departments to use one central tool, they now have to agree to use one central website.
Yeah, and as stated before on this podcast, you are assuming everyone has access to the internet on a computer.
100%, yeah.
It's always the people who need these services the most who rarely have that access.
Exactly. Another big thing that he's pushing on, and I'm glad that he's pushing on it, is social determinants of health. The idea that your home and family life and the people who surround you have to be in a good position for you to be healthy, and that helps with your health. So his big thing is he wants to use the extra capacities of city-run hospitals to reach out and coordinate with local nonprofits. And that's a good idea, but I know from personal experience and my job, that's something that H&H is already fucking doing. Like, they don't need you to tell them what they're already fucking doing.
Yeah.
And there are pages of these big ideas where it's like, yeah, H&H is already doing that.
Maybe and they're very H&H do it better. Maybe just get out of the way.
I think right now they have a pretty good system. They definitely have people who are extraordinarily passionate about it.
Yeah.
Who I'm very huge fans of. But yeah, it's just pages of really good ideas that are already being done. So I think it's very disappointing that he puts so much influence on a thing that's already happening.
Right, which then tells the careful reader of like, oh, so you haven't actually gone out and talked to the community.
Yeah. Also, he would like for cops to no longer focus on paperwork or court appearances and instead have them focus on, quote, fighting crime.
No, that's been the problem, sir.
Look, we have them do paperwork when they fuck up.
Yeah, and then they're still not doing it, or they're doing it, but they're lying.
Exactly. And I think with court appearances, he's meaning things like parking tickets or traffic violations, not like a dude was murdered and we need the main cop here. But at the same time, it's like, no, they should be there. If they're going to be writing a fuck ton of parking tickets, make them work for it.
Yeah. Also, like, then if that's not what you mean, then that's sloppy writing. Because guess what? That is all of it. Like, whether you're showing up at court because of a double homicide or because of a parking ticket.
And probably the most disappointing thing of all of this is with fighting crime, he has flip-flopped on the tactic of stop and frisk, where you can just stop anyone who you suspect of doing a crime and frisk them for weapons, for drugs, for whatever they have. It's predominantly aimed towards Black and brown minority folks in communities, and
denies them basic habeas corpus rights.
And so initially, while he was a cop, he's like, stop and frisk is a bad idea. And now he's like, well, I mean, stop and frisk is kind of common sense. Cops should be allowed to do that.
Like, look, are you trying to get the police union vote or no? Like,
yeah,
pick 100%. A lane.
Yeah. He wants to promote Black and brown officers in city agencies to the NYPD. So folks who do inspections and can write fines and stuff like that, he wants to be able to promote them so that there's a higher population of people of color within the NYPD. He wants to create a tax-free Tuesday where one day a week there is no sales tax on anything.
Yeah, that's just like, so then tourists are going to take advantage of that. That's a dumb idea.
Yeah, he claims that it's more about getting locals to shop local. But if it's tax-free Tuesday, I guarantee that other major national chains are going to figure out a way to make that work for them.
Absolutely.
And if you're a group that doesn't want to pay taxes or sales tax, act like you sell everything on Tuesday. You could probably fudge those records for more often than not that you're like, yeah, Tuesday's a really big day for us. I don't know, man.
So the working actor with 3 jobs is like, yeah, well, guess what? It's still Tuesday. Fuck off. Like, I've got 3 jobs. I'm not going anywhere. I'm ordering from Amazon because I don't get home until 2 a.m.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's not like sales tax saves that much money. Like, I understand. I've been there that if you're trying to save money, every little bit helps. But saving, $10 on $100 worth of groceries, that's kind of nice. It's not going to change your life.
It's also like, I can tell you the New York sales tax is not as bad as the Illinois and Chicago sales tax. Like, we have the worst.
Yeah. And it's still not that bad.
Well, it's just one of those things where anytime I see like a 10% discount, I'm like, oh, so it's tax free.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much. He wants to suspend property tax debt for hotels for 2 years, mainly as a way to try to ensure that hotels don't close down and to keep that tourism money coming in. He wants to turn vacant storefronts into free space for artists to create. On one hand, I support this because it's really, really good if you're like a painter or a writer and you just need a free place to go. On the other hand, who's paying heating? This will not work for theater because you got to figure out a way to bring in lights. You got to figure out a place where people are going to change their clothes. You got to figure out a number of privacy issues to ensure people aren't staring at you during a quick change. I mean, it works out. It's a thing that works out for a subset of artists, which fuck it, sure.
Yeah.
But it's not a very good quick fix.
Nope.
Allow private office buildings and hotels to become housing. So essentially allow people to live in office buildings and or hotels.
I'm in favor of mixed use development for sure. I just feel like it doesn't actually address a problem. Like the fact that any every new development in New York, I think, has to have a certain number of apartments or rooms dedicated to rent control or subsidy housing. But then these developers figure out a way where it's like, well, if you're a part of that subset, one, it's like the shittiest subset you can possibly imagine within this new development. And then they literally have to take like the freight elevators, like it is like segregated entrances. So if like those empty hotels and empty office buildings, like a lot of them, I can imagine just becoming like continued pied-a-terres for the wealthy of Russia, China, Saudi Arabia, for them to park their money.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's a really good critique of this, because it's not all going to become affordable housing. I don't think there's a single office building that is just like, it's all affordable housing. And then, fucking
JP Morgan.
Yeah, like JP Morgan will exist in the floor underneath all this affordable housing. I don't think JP Morgan would be fond of that. I think you would get a lot of office buildings who would be losing clientele. It's very, very difficult, I think, to make that work. But I would love to be proved wrong.
And it's another thing of like, as a friend pointed out to me, it's like usually like it's not a scarcity of resources, just who has access to the resource. Again, like the housing exists in New York. It's just who can afford it.
Yeah, I think we pointed this out during the California recall election, that the number of people who are houseless in San Francisco and Los Angeles, there is more than enough vacant housing for every single one of them, plus extra, to be able to have a place to live. It's just none of it's affordable.
Yep.
Anyway, Eric wants to make school year round.
Okay, I will say, I have a cousin who is, or was, she may have retired by now, but she's a teacher in Colorado, and she started teaching at, I think it might have even been a public school, but they do technically year-round classes. And so they break them up by like, you get 6 weeks off every 3 months or so, or however that math works. And the idea being that like the children retain the knowledge better. You're still getting the necessary break. And in fact, you're getting them more frequently. So you can kind of recharge. And admittedly, it's just like, why are we on a fairly agrarian system for the school year? That doesn't make sense.
No, you know what? You explain it that way. I think I like it. Plus, I mean, it's a much better way to get people ready for college, because college isn't just like an every week, no break kind of thing. You do get decent chunks in between semesters or quarters or whatever system you're on. So
totally. The problem is, it's like, again, it's like, what do you mean by year round, Eric? Because I think with a lot of politicians, it's a sense of like they're catering to parental groups who, especially after the past 2 years, are just like, get my child into school. I am losing my mind. But then without any resources devoted to teachers, and just this expectation that suddenly they're going to work like so many more weeks or so many more hours a day.
Yeah, I was under the impression it was a way to keep kids out of trouble, is to just keep them in school more often. But I think that's just because he has a police background, and that's just what I was assuming. I couldn't point to
and you could be right, because we don't know from the way he's saying it.
True. He wants to expand childcare by offering services in city-owned buildings and tax incentives for businesses to open up space for cheap childcare.
I mean, again, this just sounds like poorly worded. I think it could be good. I think you need punitive measures for these, like especially the larger companies. It's like, you will be fined if you do not provide childcare, or if
100%. Yeah. The
your hiring practices are off.
Yeah. I'm like worried about that for different reasons. On one hand, I think you're 100% right with the businesses that are probably going to skate around this and try to find a way to get some free money. And on the other hand, it's just like the government's already doing so much in New York City. They're doing so much with minimal resources. Why are you throwing childcare on them now as well? But I mean, who knows? That's another thing where it's like, I'd love to be proved wrong. So I think now we got to hit the bad, or the stuff that I do not feel good about. One, there's going to be a 2-year hiring freeze for all New York City departments, no matter what.
Wait, what? No, why? We need to go on a hiring blitz right now.
Yeah, look, if there's anything I have learned from Reddit recently, there's not a massive resignation of jobs occurring right now. There's not suddenly an influx of openings and people who don't want them. Hiring freezes, whenever I hear that, it's always a thing. Even in the short term, it's like there's always going to be turnover. And when there's turnover, if you're not allowed to fill those gaps, it makes it really fucking hard to keep doing things the way that you're doing them. And a hiring freeze across the board, you could get an incredibly important person could retire, could find different work, could tragically pass out of some moment. And then you're not allowed to fucking rehire? Like, you could promote from within, but you still need to fill a body.
But you won't. You'll just have people like you and me suddenly doing 5 jobs. I hear hiring freeze, and I hear someone at the top is getting rich as fuck. That's how that usually translates.
He wants to remove inefficient contracts and temporarily replace those services offered from those contracts with nonprofit organizations.
Like what? Like specifically what?
The example that he gave is, say, taking care of a park. that you would have a nonprofit conservatorship take care of park maintenance.
No, make it a government job like it is supposed to, and then put the money in to make it work. Jesus Christ.
It's not easy to clean a park as much as people I'm sure would like to think it is. Also, I seriously doubt the conservatorship of, I don't know, Central Park. Let's pick the big one.
Yeah, let's go with the biggest.
I don't think they have enough money to be able to keep that place clean on a regular basis.
They absolutely don't. And even with a non-for-profit, it's I don't know, with the government, it's like, it's that idea of like, it's for the public. It's a public utility. It's not supposed to make a profit. It just seems like this is, I really hope this doesn't become some kind of trend, because it really sounds like a dumber, watered down version of like, we're going to let the private sector handle this because they are much smarter than stupid old government.
I'd agree that it's worse than having the private sector do it, because it's not like nonprofits are just awash in extra cash where they can suddenly take on this work.
Yeah. And I feel like with you and me in particular, it's like, I don't know, I feel like with millennials, it's like we have grown up seeing just mask pulled off on nonprofits. It's like we've seen how the sausage gets made. So many of us have ended up working for one at 25 or continue to like somehow be connected to them still. And it's like, oh, this is a hot mess.
Yeah. So here's probably the one that concerns me the most. He would like to change the zoning laws to allow New York City developers to sell micro units.
Nope.
It's a studio, but smaller.
Yeah, no. Go to our listeners, go read up on the cage dorm rooms of Hong Kong, and then just imagine that for New York. No, it's such like, it makes me so mad, because it's like Spirit Airlines for housing.
Yeah.
Everyone's just like, well, this is great because now you have all of these monetary options for where you live. And it's like, no, I don't. I have to go with Spirit because it's all I can afford because no one pays me enough.
Yeah.
And I hate it.
In a way, it justifies shitty pay because now it's actually affordable to live somewhere.
Yes.
And it's not like it's a place where, like, I lived in a studio once and it was really great to have a partition to block the grease from my stove from hitting my bed. Yeah, micro units are a really bad idea, and a lot of people have opinions on them, and I'm so sorry you're going to hear a few more. And the weirdest one is he would like to sell the air rights above public housing.
No.
Una, would you like to explain to people what air rights are?
Oh my God. Aside from just like dark magic, no, I remember I took a boat tour because one of my friends was the host for it, and he explained how Chicago had sold off the air rights above Union Station. And now, it's just like gorgeous glass and chrome high rises that pay no property tax because they bought the fucking air rights. And so they could just build upward into that vast air. It is so short-sighted.
Yeah.
And then on top of public housing, so it's like, you can't fuck over the poor enough. You need to continue doing it into the stratosphere.
Yep. Yeah, it's very much a short-sighted plan to get a bunch of money now, and then there's really not enough clarity as to what he's going to use it for, really, other than like to make up for the sales tax on Tuesday. And
yeah, it's like you're taxing of the rich at 5 million and up. It's like that should just be it. Stop also like shooting yourself in the foot afterwards.
Yeah, let's start with that. Let's make a single operating system for the city, and then we'll go from there.
We're going to add that and not remove anything for once.
Yeah, it'll be fucking great. But nope, that's what Eric wants to do. But let's say you don't want to vote for Eric Adams.
Oh no.
You got options. No, Una, you have so many options.
Tell me my options.
But let's say you still want to vote for a major party candidate because you got it in your head that, like, if I vote for a third party candidate, for one, you're listening to this podcast, so you should at least have some positive opinions of third party in general.
Sure, but for devil's advocate's sake, he's like, I want a brand name. Yeah. I want a Coke or Pepsi. I want Fanta.
Yeah. Well,
or RC Cola.
Hey, do not degrade RC Cola on this podcast. God damn it. It is
I vote for Faygo every time, but we can continue because I'm a Detroit girl.
But yeah, you can still vote for the Republican this time around. The Republicans have introduced a candidate. They had a primary and everything. And lucky for you, you have a guy named Curtis Sliwa. Now, Curtis was born in 1954, and he was raised in the Canarsie neighborhood of Brooklyn. And I'm sure you can kind of judge by his last name, comes from a bit of a Polish background.
Hey.
So growing up, he was a paper boy. And one year, he even won Paper Boy of the Year for saving people from a burning building while riding on his paper route.
Okay.
He would eventually graduate from Canarsie High School. He'd actually gotten kicked out of the Jesuit prep school that he was in because he had an argument about the dress code.
Amazing.
And apparently got very mad about it.
This is so of an era and close to my family.
So following graduating high school, he'd work as a night manager at McDonald's in the Bronx. The thing, though, is to get to that job in the Bronx, he would essentially have to ride, what they call it, a murder train to get there. The New York City subway wasn't exactly the safest of options in the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No.
The city had undergone a financial downturn that led to less and less money going towards the subway. And so you would get cars that had no working lights. You would get cars that were full of people who were just ready to take the meager possessions that you had. Graffiti was everywhere. Various human fluids could be found in many locations as compared to today, where it's every once in a while.
Yeah. And usually like maybe a couple, and not of the violent types.
Yeah.
So I would say, whereas with Eric, I would suggest our listeners go watch The French Connection. So with Curtis, I would suggest taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3, or even The Warriors.
Ooh, oh, The Warriors would be so good. Well, here we'll get to that. Why The Warriors is probably the best choice for Curtis. So Curtis is essentially riding the mugging train of Violenceville. And not only that, but the city is in the midst of just a huge crime spree. The year before, the Son of Sam killings had occurred, which put everyone on edge. In 77,
Forge in New York City, drop dead.
Yeah. In 77, there was a massive blackout that led to a weekend of violence. Only one person died, though, which is kind of amazing. I mean, it's at least controlled violence.
Yeah, a lot of looting.
Yeah. Fun fact, the looting that occurred during the blackout is often marked as the reason that rap was able to rise as quickly as it was.
Yes, because all these guys were like, finally, I can get a hold of this gear I've had my eye on, and now we can do all this cool shit.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's a cool fucking way for everything to turn out.
Yes.
But yeah, so people were just kind of not really wanting to take the subway. The ridership of the subway was down to levels that hadn't been seen since 1910. But there are people who still have to use the subway whether they want to or not. So Curtis got the idea to get together a group of friends, called them themselves the Magnificent 13, and essentially they would just kind of walk through the trains to ensure people's safety. Now, it's a crappy name. I'm sure Curtis would admit that now, which is why they rebranded in 1979 and became known as the Guardian Angels.
Much better name. Less Clint Eastwoody.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So are you familiar with the Guardian Angels?
I'm not.
It's kind of an amazing story that I really wish we had an hour and a half to just devote to them, because it's such an interesting tale. So the Guardian Angels would be a group that, like I said, would just go throughout the trains, ensure people's safety, and make sure that no one got mugged, no one got hurt, and that was it. They had no weaponry whatsoever. They practiced karate, so they understood self-defense. They knew the ins and outs of citizen arrests, so they could be able to stop people and wait for the police to show up. 80% of the members in 1981 were people of color.
Really?
Yeah. And
this is cool.
And a lot of them, or at least a number of them, were kids who, when they were between the ages of 12 and 15, had gotten caught either doing petty theft or some sort of robbery. They got arrested, and then Curtis was like, hey, you understand how to do this? Let's make sure this doesn't happen to people. And essentially act as a father figure for a lot of young youths.
Amazing.
Yeah. And so in 1981, they had 700 members.
700?
700.
Damn.
They had also expanded to a number of different cities that were operating like this. If you remember the Guardian Angels, you were required to wear a uniform, so people knew who you were. You would have to wear black pants, a red jacket, and a red beret. Now, the red beret was mostly because Curtis used to wear one, and so everyone's like, fuck it, we want to be like Curtis. We're getting a red beret. So that became part of the uniform. And you were never allowed to take money from people, even if they offered it on the train. And that was mainly because people were going into the train dressed as a guardian angel and panhandling. And so they just wanted to make it incredibly clear, this is volunteer only. We're just here to help folks.
Yeah, we're just here to keep an eye on things.
Now, your opinion of them would change kind of depending on how much money you made. If you made a lot of money, they were a public nuisance. They were, vigilantes out trying to make a quick buck and just rigging the system. We have cops for a reason, damn it. And if you made less money, then you fucking love the Guardian Angels, because
if you made less money, you were probably on the subway at this time.
100%. Like, they knew the Guardian Angels. They knew the people on the trains, and they knew they'd be safe if they saw them.
Yeah.
But at this time, Mayor Ed Koch, who we've talked about before, is just a real piece of shit. He decided what he was going to do is he was going to investigate the Guardian Angels in 1981 and see what they were really about. And the person that he put in charge of that looked into them and ended up producing a report so glowing that Mayor Koch immediately had to retract everything that he had said before.
Amazing. Wow.
So the fun thing is the Guardian Angels actually still exist to this day. Not in the same numbers that they used to, but they operate in a number of cities. They still operate in New York, but it really just kind of depends, especially since the subway system has gotten debatably better.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Better in some ways, less great in other ways.
Exactly. So one of the big problems, though, is around that time, Curtis started to kind of develop a bit of a complex. He made up stories of them saving people when they really didn't have to. He stated that the cops kidnapped him in 1980, and then later in 92, under threat of lawsuit, he had to admit that never happened.
It's like, yeah. dude, don't, like, enough people do get beat up and kidnapped by the cops. Like,
well, and the funny thing is he would only have to wait a little bit longer that year for that to become true.
Because you just kept your mouth shut.
In 1992, he hopped in a subway in front of his home in the East Village, gave directions on where he wanted to go, and the driver turned around and shot him. In the leg and the groin. And Curtis, being fucking Curtis, jumped out the window while the car was moving and ends up going to the hospital, has surgery, lives just fine. And they started looking into who tried to kill him. Now, they never convicted anyone for this, but the most common belief is that the two gunmen were Michael Yannotti and John A. Gotti, the son of the head of the freaking Gambino crime family.
D. Gotti.
D. Gotti.
What?
This is
because they were muscling in on his territory?
It's dumber. It's actually dumber. So in 1990, Curtis had shifted into his new job. And I hate to tell you this, he shifted into populist conservative talk radio.
Well, I was wondering how he became a Republican. Okay.
Yeah. And so at some point during his radio program, he shit-talked John Gotti. And John Gotti's son was so pissed off about this that he's like, we're going to get a cab. We're going to shoot the motherfucker. We're not going to lock the windows.
We're going to make this so messy.
I'm going to show everyone's going to be running the crime family.
I'm going to bring incredible shame upon my name.
It's going to be awesome. Yeah, like neither of them would end up getting convicted, but even the judge is like, I know they did it. We just don't have the fucking evidence. It's clear these fucking, what's the word? Gabagools did it. Yeah. These fucking chunks went out there. Couldn't even shoot a guy at point blank range and let him jump out of a fucking taxi. What is wrong with you? But yeah, like Yannotti would end up in jail for like some fraud shit, and John A. Gotti gets to be Gotti's kid for the rest of his life. So that's, punishment enough. But yeah, freaking Curtis would end up being on his radio show up until 2020. He kind of wavers in success. Like he does well enough. At one point, he replaces Rush Limbaugh on a couple channels because Limbaugh moved to another station. I can't really find anything that he said that's offensive or like, traditional what the fuck Limbaugh or Glenn Beck nonsense. But the dude is clearly conservative and he has very strong conservative views. And so in 2020, he decides he's going to suspend his radio show and enter the Republican primary for New York City mayor. A lot of this was on the heels of course, I'm going to screw the guy's name up. John Katsomaitis, I believe is his name. He's a landlord who owns a fuck ton of properties in New York, but he decided he wasn't going to run, which left things pretty wide open. Curtis hopped in with his friend Fernando Mateo, who, I was going to cut this, but Fernando Mateo essentially, he runs the Bodega Association in New York City. He runs an association for cab drivers as well. He's the reason that there is a bulletproof panel in between the front seat and the back seat, mainly because a lot of cab drivers were getting killed. So he advocated for that. His big issues, though, is that he essentially defrauded the city and the federal government just to open a restaurant.
There are better, but you're only supposed to defraud yourself.
Yeah, he got a bid for a marina, and the contract said you could open up a restaurant, you can put whatever you want here, you just have to fix the marina. And essentially he replied with, oh no, I built my restaurant in an outdoor music venue that's against the rules, and all these other things, like, oh no, I guess I need more money. And so he applied for a federal grant for the marina, didn't use that money for the marina.
No, because it takes money to run a restaurant.
Exactly, yeah. Well, and the noise ordinance of the area says that after 10 o'clock, there can't be any loud noise, but the dude's having concerts every single fucking weekend with humongous crowds. And yeah, well, and the thing that's crazy is that he actually initially lost the bid to fix the marina and then bought a controlling interest of the company that won.
This guy needs to be in jail. I'm so mad.
Yeah. Well, the thing that he ends up getting in trouble for is he ended up funneling money to Mayor Bill de Blasio.
God damn it.
Republican.
De Blasio.
Anyway, so Curtis is just facing Fernando. They were friends beforehand. Afterwards, they are not friends. They are now bitter enemies. But Curtis ends up winning in the first round, ends up winning like 2-1. A very easy victory for Curtis. But the big thing that makes Curtis very unique in this particular election is he is an anti-Trump Republican and has been since day one. He is very much a conservative New Yorker in that he fucking hates Trump, thinks he's a scam artist, and is not afraid to say it.
Sure, probably lost money to him personally at some point in like the 90s.
100%. Yeah, Trump is exactly the kind of guy who would not have liked him in the 80s. So it does not surprise me that he does not like him. But you know what? We got to know what Curtis wants to do, because we can't just base off his history. We got to know what his plans are. And first, Curtis wants to, quote, refund the police and restore any cuts to the police budget, noting that, quote, somewhere along the line, politicians started caring more about millennials' feelings, that the reality is that pulled our city out of the tailspin of violence no longer exist. Now,
I stopped listening after
millennial feelings?
Yes.
No one gives a fuck about how millennials feel. No one. The only millennials that care are maybe like 6 Congress people who are also millennials.
Who are also millennials? Yes.
So I looked into this because I was like, I don't think de Blasio really defunded the NYPD by that much. And de Blasio would state that he defunded them by $1 billion, which makes their budget now about $5 billion.
That's so much money.
It's a ludicrous amount of money.
So much fucking money.
But I found an article that was looking into these budget cuts, and they essentially said 1 billion is bullshit and completely untrue, and you have to do some very fucky accounting for it to get to that number. So you get about 355 million from him deciding that there's going to be a hiring and vehicle buying freeze for a year, that they weren't just going to hire a new class of officers for a year, and they're not going to buy any new vehicles for a year. That's it. He also moved a number of officers from the NYPD to other city departments, making it look like more cuts happened than actually did. So if you're a school cop, you're now working for the Department of Education.
Which is, no, don't like that.
Nope. So refunding the cops would mainly just mean hiring twice as many officers and buying more equipment, and that's it. But I'm sure what it's going to actually mean is increasing the budget by $1 billion.
Yeah, increasing the budget by an obscene amount of money.
Yeah. Curtis also wants to improve subway safety by adding 5,000 NYPD officers to the patrol of the subways, another 500 NTA officers to fight fare evasion, remove emotionally disturbed persons and bring them to psychiatric care facilities, and remove homeless persons and bring them to homeless shelters. Now, this is a bit of a tricky thing because one of Curtis's bigger moments on the campaign trail was he was giving a press conference, and a houseless person was having a mental crisis, just kind of interrupted at the time and just grabbed the mic and started talking. And Curtis kind of just stood aside and let him kind of say what he had to say. And then he just, instead of continuing on with the press conference, he just started talking to the houseless dude and just like, hey, who are you? What do you need? Like, are you hurting right now? Is there any way that we can help? And it's become a very prominent part of a lot of his campaign rhetoric. And it's the first thing that you see when you go to his website. And as much as I hate to say it, it kind of looks staged at this point, just because it's become such a major part. It wouldn't shock me if it isn't staged, because I do think he has a good heart and he genuinely wants to help people. But at the same time, the reason that houseless people are living on the subway overnight is because the shelters are horribly dangerous.
Yeah.
The reason people aren't in psychiatric facilities is that they're incredibly expensive.
Yeah. And it's like, that is genuinely warm and heart touching, and something that I wish more politicians were capable of, or at least, I don't know. I think in this case, like, Curtis's history has really shown his ability to just be around all New Yorkers. Like, you really find that with a lot of politicians, like, there is a certain like class strata among them. Andrew Yang. And and being on the subways, day after day in the 70s, is like, you're going to meet all shades of people.
Yeah.
But the problem is, like, that's not Curtis going into the subways. That's a generation of stop and frisk motherfuckers with a badge and a gun going into the subways. And I could, like, my own personal anecdote of police in the subway was, albeit weeks before 9/11, my friends and I were racing to grab the train to go somewhere, and we were running through, I think the Penn Station labyrinth, through one of those huge hallways with like a bunch of Sparrows or whatever. And I hear this policeman aggressively hitting on any woman walking past him. Like, hey baby, how you doing? How you doing? Hey, how you doing? And to the point where I stopped and turned, was like, what? This is happening?
Yep.
And then I ran to catch my train.
Well, it's a good thing you didn't tell him to put on a mask, because he might have thrown you out of the subway.
Yeah. So it was like, no, let's put more police into these areas. Great.
So his plan for improving education, I'm kind of half and half on. He would like to make CUNY a 3-year program rather than a 4-year program, to save money on a year.
But you still walk away with a bachelor's?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He wants to keep K through 12 schools open till the end of July, rather than the beginning of June. Or actually, don't know when New York Public Schools.
Yeah, I don't know either. But I'm assuming it will be like at least a month.
Yeah. But he does support the idea of increasing salaries for teachers. He wants to increase the number of charter religious and private schools.
Boo.
But he also wants to remove sales tax on back-to-school supplies, and expand after-school programs. His plan for removing the sales tax on back-to-school supplies is it would happen from the beginning of August till the end of August. There would be limits on the amount that the stuff that you could buy could be worth. It would also include laptops that are cost up to $1,250 that you could get tax-free if you're a student. So in one of those cases, I think it makes a little more sense, and it probably helps a lot for teachers who have to buy their own supplies.
But that's just it. Is like it's one of those like money saving, that like supposed to be feel good suggestions that ends up making me so much angrier, because like, okay, so you recognize that there's a problem. It's like when it's like when you're hearing about whether or not the Democrats are going to do anything about reducing student loan debt across the board, and it's just like, no, 10,000. It's like, yeah, okay, I won't say no to $10,000, but for the people with $150,000 in student loan debt, like it's almost more of a fuck
makes no
you.
sense. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like, great. So again, like a couple of, I mean, yeah, it does add up, but the problem is like, why are the teachers buying these supplies in the first place? If the issue is that like kids need these supplies, why are they not available to the students to begin with?
Yeah, that's a very good point. You know what? Let's do a happy one. Once again, Curtis is all about having all pets be allowed in public housing, but he goes a step further. He wants to make New York City a no-kill shelter city.
Yes, how is it not already?
So this is gonna warm your heart too. He also is the proud papa of a cat who is completely blind. Yeah, Curtis loves him some animals. So. But he also wants to fix homelessness, as everyone hopefully does. He has a 5-step plan. So he wants to develop more supportive housing with on-site supportive services. So the general idea that the typical pathway of when you're in a shelter is people try to find a transitional home for you. Typically, a transitional shelter is going to be the next step of a place to live that's kind of like group housing. It can really depend. Sometimes you get your own place, sometimes you don't. And then if you have mental issues that need to be dealt with as well, or any sort of substance use issue, then you move on to a supportive housing situation where people can help you through your crisis struggles, through any sort of addiction, through anything that you really need to surpass to be able to move on to independence. And I mean, look, the entire houseless service options in New York City, they're trying, but it's definitively not great. And it's absolutely hamstrung by a lot of neighborhoods just not wanting these sort of services in their neighborhood. So it makes it very difficult to expand these sort of services. That being said, I do support that as a general idea. The thing that makes me not supportive of it is by supportive housing, he means mini homes.
No.
Yep, no, are you having a mental health crisis? How about you live in a place that is smaller than a studio where you have barely privacy?
Yeah, like now we're going kind of back into the land of the SRUs or SROs.
Oh God,
like
yeah.
Those men's facilities of like from the 50s to the 70s.
Oh yeah, and they're still very much in operation in New York in some regards. But yeah, that's essentially what he wants to use for transitional housing. That if you have work or are actively looking for work, you can get a mini home. You can get a start.
Right, and meanwhile, the developers are saying like, no, Sarah, those are set away for the 22 to 35-year-olds who are coming here with a twinkle in their eye and a dream of Broadway.
Yep. God damn it. Step 2, improve homeless shelter safety and capacity. For this, he wants to assign social workers and NYPD officers to each shelter. I'm of the belief that the reason that homeless shelters are so dangerous is that they're accommodating too many people at once. That what you need to have is not just bigger shelters, but more shelters for smaller groups of people that are ideally dealing with the same issue. So you can have a group of experts to help them out all at once.
Yep. Yeah. And like probably 2 social workers per person.
Yeah. The thing that he does say that I do think is a good idea is he wants to expand shelter capacity to ensure that there is a bed available for every homeless person within the city, so that no matter what, there's somewhere someone can stay. So I can at least support that. He then would want to expand programs for homeless youth, assign social workers to high concentration homeless areas, and expand employment programs to be able to get people a job as quickly as possible. So all kind of common sense things. And as a curveball, universal basic income, baby.
Ooh, yes to a curveball.
But it's very specific. It's for childcare, tutors, and education services. And it is $2,000 a year.
I am sorry, what?
Now, Una, for a chance of $2,000 a year, how much is the average cost of childcare in New York City a month?
Oh, let me just go with $3,000.
It's actually about half that. It's $1,760. So you can get a month and a week of childcare for your kid.
Come on.
It's not grand. It's like what it's as you said before, it's like just enough to feel like a fuck you.
Yeah.
So he has a number of ideas how to reform public housing, making sure that supervisors and maintenance workers have to live in the building so shit doesn't get, worse and worse each year. He wants to encourage civilian groups to patrol their housing, but also his probably more unique ideas. He wants to find any carpenters, plumbers, people with specific construction skills, see if they owe any back taxes and say, hey, you owe us X amount for back taxes, but we could forget that if you did these repairs at these local public housing units.
That feels weirdly gangster.
I know, right? I was
just so mafioso.
I'm sure it's legal in some way, but there's a part of it that just feels kind of weird. It's 100% he was just like, hey, what's a good idea? We should probably we should get some carpenters to do some work. He's like, I'm gonna steal that 15 years from now. He really likes crypto.
Christ.
There's not much beyond that. He wants to put up some crypto ATMs for the most part. He wants to make better plans for when the city gets hit by any future catastrophic storms and floods, which is kind of becoming more common. So at least you're thinking about it.
Yes.
And finally, he wants to remove NYU and Columbia University's property tax exemption.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, which, look, he listed numbers of how much their endowments are worth. And I gotta say this, go off, Queen.
Yeah. Make those motherfuckers pay.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem is like they would probably just take away any kind of scholarship money available. But they've always been, I don't know, always been kind of like nose candy campuses anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like half the stuff, it's like, yeah, I like what you're saying, Curtis. And the other half, it's just like, why do you have to do this? Why you got to break my balls, man?
I will say, yeah, he's annoyingly complex, but I don't like, I've been angrier at a candidate, you know?
It's like, you know, I get the same feeling with him that I do from Kevin Falconer. I'm sure he's a really nice guy who genuinely cares about people. It just sucks that some of his ideas are bad.
But I also love that I feel like this is the trend with certainly like New York City politicians is just like the demarcation of blue versus red really needs to get thrown out the window. Like you vote in a liberal and you always end up with like a conservative in sheep's clothing or vice versa. Nothing makes sense.
Which, not gonna lie, that's the bar I'm expecting for Eric as of right now. Not saying, I mean, he's gonna win, but it's pretty much what I'm expecting.
Yeah.
But you know what? Let's say Curtis isn't conservative enough for you. Do you have any options here? You actually have 3.
Can I not?
The first is Fernando Mateo. Yeah, he lost the Republican primary. He's still on the ballot because fuck Curtis and fuck him for not being a corrupt piece of shit. So Fernando is on the Save Our City Party ticket. The fun thing about New York is you could just kind of create third parties out of goddamn nowhere if you're on the ballot.
Yes.
So no one runs as an independent.
Amazing.
He's a devout Trumpist, which is the big difference between him and Curtis.
That's huge.
But the thing is, he also hasn't updated his campaign website since losing to Sliwa, and he still has a letter thanking everyone for their support and everything. So there's really nothing there to talk about what he supports.
Amazing.
So yeah, it's more just him barely giving a fuck you to Curtis, and that's it. There's also Skiboki Stora, who is running on the Outlaw Breaker Party ticket. He states that 16 years ago, he was shot by the NYPD while he was living at a homeless shelter and is now running as a law and order Trumpist. And aside from that, I have no idea what he supports. And it's mainly because on his website, there's no spot that lists his platform, nothing that really lists his ideas or what he's going to do. But there is a video of him interrupting Jay-Z at a press conference to just yell about how he's the right choice for mayor.
I mean, that's pretty good New York cred.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it does surprise me how easy it is to sneak into a Jay-Z press conference and just start yelling. But lucky for you, there's another option. Representing the Conservative Party is retired NYPD cop Bill Pepitone. Bill, like Eric and Curtis, was also born in Brooklyn. He grew up in the Gravesend neighborhood, graduated from Xavier in high school, and then immediately joined the NYPD right out. Just like his father and his more straight-laced uncle. He does have another more famous uncle who played baseball for the Yankees and got very into cocaine in the late 80s, early 90s.
Hey.
Bill would serve for 2 decades, noting that he had been on the front lines during the Crown Heights riots and 9/11. And towards the end of his career, he shifted to teaching at the police academy and then retired from the force in 2009. From there, he moved to Morrisville, Pennsylvania. Now, 4 years later, he'd make his first foray into politics. After becoming frustrated at the city's mismanagement of the police budget, which I kind of interpret to mean they cut it a little bit, he decided he was going to run as a write-in candidate for mayor of Morrisville. He entered about 6 weeks to the campaign's end, but that was good enough for him to finish in second. And in 2015, he ran as a Republican for Morrisville Borough Council and defeated the incumbent president. Now, what could have been a long political career ended after that term, mainly because Bill got divorced at that time. And he decided it would be best for him to move from Morrisville back to Staten Island, the Florida of New York City.
Yeah.
So Staten Island's weird. For folks who don't live in America, Staten Island is the ultra-conservative punch-you-in-the-face borough of New York, not to be confused with the liberal or the kind of liberal or the sort of liberal place in New York where you get punched in the face.
Right. Yeah. It's like, I mean, up until maybe the 90s, Brooklyn and Queens were considered as much suburbs to Manhattan. And now it's like they're all one and the same, and Bronx is on the way as well. But Staten Island still has that kind of like, there's a distance. You know, the city is at an arm's length.
There have been some genuine arguments that Staten Island should be New Jersey, but and if I remember right, the only way to get there is from a ferry, not through train, bus, or anything. Like you gotta take a boat to get there.
There's an excellent, this is a few years back, but there's an excellent Pete Davidson on Weekend Update that, because he and Colin Josh are both from Staten Island.
I just saw that's so weird. The two polar opposites of humans.
Yes, and Pete kind of points that out where like the local Staten Island press like loves Colin so much and like have actively threatened in a paper of record at Pete Davidson. And he's like, well, if Staten Island's so great, why is it free to get to?
Yeah.
The ferry's free.
Beautiful. So yeah, so he decides to move to Staten Island, as bachelors do. And he moves there just in time for the George Floyd protests to be happening across the weird water, the Hudson? I don't fucking know. The waterway that separates Staten Island from society.
Yeah, the Verrazano Straits. I don't know.
Yeah. And so he's sitting here watching the protests, and he just, like in Morrisville, becomes super pissed off at how the city government is treating the NYPD during these protests.
Who fucking who? Go listen to some Wu-Tang and learn something.
So now he did attempt to run as a Republican, but after the county parties endorsed Sliwa and Mateo, it left him with really no establishment support. But he did get the endorsement from the Conservative Party, a third party that often endorses Republicans, but will go on their own if they don't like the official candidate or if a Republican doesn't run. With Mateo, they didn't like that he had previously funneled money to de Blasio. With Curtis, they didn't like that the Guardian Angel had made up events to sound more heroic. But with no Republican left that they liked, Bill was pretty much the main choice they had left. So Bill dropped out of the GOP primary and chose to take his chances with the third party support. And sure, being a conservative former cop in New York City would make for a hell of a long shot, but stranger things have happened. This is a city that has elected Rudy Giuliani. And fuck if Bill doesn't have a unique platform. For one, he wants to get rid of all COVID mandates and requirements. He supports rehiring all city employees who have been laid off who refuse to get the vaccine, hates mask mandates, and just for fun, is also against universal basic income. Now, it is important to recognize on this, too, that apparently Bill is a very soft-spoken individual. Like, he's not a very angry-sounding guy. So imagine all of this coming from a dude who's just very calm and milquetoast. The biggest platform policy would be returning the NYPD to what is known as broken windows policing. Is this a term that you've heard before?
Yeah, I have heard of it, but I'm a little loosey on the definition.
So the general idea behind it is a neighborhood that has broken windows or graffiti or a decent amount of litter is only going to get worse in no one does anything to fix it. And the solution of how to fix it is to begin arresting people who are the perpetrators of these particular crimes. So there is a heavier policing of people who commit acts of vandalism or graffiti or litter or loitering or fare evasion, things of that nature. And it ends up increasing the number of people who end up getting cited for being what is essentially called a disruptive person. And the general idea is you punish these people to the point that it's no longer worth their time to break things or to spray paint graffiti or to litter, and eventually the neighborhood becomes a nice place to live and is able to integrate with proper society.
Yeah, this is some trickle down reasoning, but
but
it's also, I do remember that like the original idea of like the nucleus of this theory that broken windows will then lead to higher crime has been completely disproven.
100%. Yeah. The first study of it was done by a guy, Philip Zambrano, who was the guy who did the Stanford prison experiment.
Right.
Yeah. He was the initiator of that experiment. And of course, there are a number of reasonings as to why he essentially put a broken down car in the Bronx and put another one in Palo Alto. And the broken down car in the Bronx got stripped for parts quickly and the one in Palo Alto didn't. And he was like, see, it's evidence. Bad broken neighborhoods equal crime.
Nope.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing
Bad
is,
science.
in Palo Alto, he took a sledgehammer to the car that was there, and then eventually other people started taking part in destroying the car. So it's just like people will destroy the car, but for different reasons. In the Bronx, I'm sure it's like, hey, this is a chance to feed my family, so I'm going to do it. And in Palo Alto, it's yay, car smashy time. Let's do this.
Yeah. I've got a suburban anger inside me.
I believe it's called a passion for smashing. But yeah, it's this general idea that if you punish people in admittedly poorer neighborhoods for being poor and not being able to fix these problems, or like graffiti in a lot of guards, it can be like marking territory, but it could also be like a mural. It could be people making their neighborhood beautiful by their definitions.
Yep. It can also be a building that's gone to seed because all of the federal money that was put in place to keep these project houses and communities going has completely disappeared. And the people realize that and realize like, no one cares about me. No one cares about my community. So why should I?
Exactly. Well, the thing that sucks about this is in 1993, Rudy Giuliani decided we are doing broken windows theory policing. We're going to be hardcore on people who are jaywalking, who are loitering, who are evading fares. And essentially the cops go fucking nuts. And this results in lower crime. It results in just the crime rate overall, whether it's minor or major, going down. And so it led a number of people in the NYPD to believe, holy shit, this has worked. but it ignores the fact that nationwide crime.
Yes. Yeah. To such a degree, sociologists still haven't figured out why.
Yeah.
Like no one knows why.
Exactly.
It dipped.
Yeah. And it's not like every single city was doing broken windows policing. It was across the board different every single place. And part of it is probably because, the unemployment dropped. People started getting more money and financially were doing better. It's any number of possible reasons, but it definitively was not the fact that the cops were harassing poor people.
Yeah.
But Bill, being a cop from that era, wants to return to it and thinks it's the only way to stop this historic rise in crime in New York City.
It's like, it's not there. Also, it's like, we're talking, what I love too is like around 1993, they decided to do the broken window theory policing. And it's like, and crime started going down and all of these criminals are not fleecing people on the street. Meanwhile, Enron is a thing. Like no one ever fucking talks about all of the enormous white collar crime that led up to, I don't know, like the .com bust of 2000.
Or the worst recession that we've ever seen.
Yes! Subprime lending.
But they weren't jaywalking, so clearly not a problem. Not a problem, Moonit. Look, I don't want to mansplain money to you, but
no one wants to send 5,000 cops to fucking Wall Street.
Oh my God. So on top of that, Bill really wants to make the NYPD terrorism unit focus on a different enemy, Antifa. They're going to focus just on Antifa. Well, other hate
out of
groups.
Here.
Antifa and quote other hate groups.
If you can remove the noun and replace it with Babadook or the Boogeyman,
look, man, you got to stop that fucking Babadook.
It still works. You got a problem.
Yeah. God damn it. And that's kind of the most of what he has. He has a platform on education. And it's essentially just him bitching about masks and COVID mandates in schools. Literally it's either he wants to increase violent policing or the solution is get rid of all COVID mandates and that'll fix everything.
Yeah, it's like, this is not how I imagined bringing back the 90s.
It's just kind of a fun aside. He also has written about a half dozen novels that he's written under the name Billy Pepitone.
Of course he has.
And most of which follow the plot of formerly famous cop has to solve a murder conspiracy.
And they've been published.
Maybe self-published, but they've been published.
All right.
On Amazon. The newest one is called Gravedigger.
Ooh.
It's about a murderer called the Gravedigger. And the thing is the district attorney who takes pro bono cases has done it.
Yeah, but I can't finish a fucking screenplay.
But let's say you're a New Yorker and you're still bummed that Andrew Yang didn't win.
I'm not, Dusty.
You might be.
So what other choices do I have?
You need a centrist. You got to find someone who just doesn't get your vote, but gets your heart. Really understands it's not left, it's not right, it's forward. Well, you got kind of have some options. On one hand, it's kind of unfair that I'm putting her in this option. She's the one libertarian who's running. Her name's Stacey Pressman. So a woman libertarian, that's new.
Only in New York, am I right?
She's a radio host. She is a motivational speaker, mostly speaking to body positivity and eating disorders and her ability to overcome an eating disorder in her youth. And she's also a comedian as well. And her platform is, it's typically what you'd find from a libertarian, but there's, some really unique stuff too, like implementing a universal basic income for 2,000 New York City residents. They'd get $2,000 a month for 2 years, while also ending all city income tax for anyone who makes $32,500 a year or lower. Aside from that, she wants to ban horse-drawn carriages. She wants to make New York City a no-kill shelter city, so fuck you out of that. She wants to decriminalize sex work. And she wants to fix homelessness by building inexpensive housing via 3D printing.
Oh, no.
So this is a real thing that's happening. People are 3D printing housing using kind of like a concrete sort of mix. The problem, or at least as I understand it through a number of YouTube videos I've seen, is that it doesn't really count insulation very well. You still need to add wooden supports and structures to it. There's not really that many printers that are available as of right now. It's not affordable, and it's not a fix-all by any stretch. It's the same thing with cargo ship containers. Like, you can turn them into small homes, but you're going to lose a lot of it by putting in insulation and making it actually livable.
Yeah.
So it's the question of whether you want to make livable housing or just housing.
Right. And also, if you just want to make just housing, there's probably a better, less Silicon Valley douchey way.
Yeah. But if you're looking for a more true middle-of-the-road candidate, you really can't do much better than Surgeon Raja Flores. He's currently running on the Humanity United Party. And so I know you've probably never heard the name Raja Flores. I hadn't before researching as well. And the thing is, though, if you're just going to vote for someone who's the best human being out of everyone running, Raja Flores is the guy to go with. 100%. He has done more net good than probably everyone running combined.
Well, I'm listening.
So his main area of expertise is as a surgeon when it comes to mesothelioma, which I'd only heard during, at 11 o'clock in the middle of Price is Right commercial.
100%. Yes.
So looking it up, essentially what it is a layer of, essentially a cancerous layer that you can develop in your lungs typically that is the result of breathing in asbestos over a period.
Oh, yikes.
And Raha, he was originally born in the projects in New York, grew up incredibly poor, became a surgeon during his time, and discovered a multitude of ways to treat mesothelioma, pretty much to the point that as of right now, he is the chief of thoracic surgery at Mount Sinai Hospital. He is the author of over 60 chapters and 130 publications about mesothelioma, and has developed at least 3 different surgeries that have been proven to be effective against treating the disease.
Holy shit.
Dude's a goddamn champion.
Yeah.
Like I said, if you're just voting for the most genuinely good person, vote for Ra. He's amazing. He's a very genuine dude. But part of the disappointment is that much of his platform is pretty standard: improve health, fix homelessness, improve business, without much of a plan really kind of behind it.
Yeah, why politics? Why now?
Yeah, it's very baffling because he does seem like a good-hearted dude. He just needs a fucking plan on his website. But he does have a section on how he wants to improve public housing. And this is really kind of where a lot of his own expertise comes in. He wants to remove all asbestos, lead, and mold from public housing.
Yeah.
Increase small businesses by offering benefits to new business people, but also guaranteeing employment by incentivizing residents of public housing to work at new small businesses. Which could go either way. He uses bodegas as a really good example of being able to hire locally to be able to get people to work, and giving kind of a prioritized status for people living in public housing so they can move on to improved housing or anything like that. It's understandable. But at the same time, you never really know what someone's going to pay.
Yeah.
He wants to increase grades of students who live in public housing by offering vouchers to their parents when their children perform well in school. And the examples he used would be like for rent, but also for Wi-Fi and things like that. But he also wants to create a rent-to-own program for public housing.
Oh, that's something everyone needs to be taking on board. Yes.
Yeah. So the general idea is that if you pay your rent to the point that you have put in enough money to legally own the place, the apartment's yours. You can have it for the rest of time. I like this and I don't like this because it's not like you're getting a valuable piece of property, and it's probably going to be difficult to sell what is essentially a condo unit in an apartment building that doesn't have a condo association unless you kind of count the city as the condo association. So it's kind of tricky in a lot of regards. I kind of think that there's a lot that has to be thought through with this, but as an idea, I think it's not that bad.
It used to be like rent to own used to be a lot more prevalent countrywide. I mean,
really,
friends of mine, like a friend of mine, his parents, when they moved to East Lansing, they rented their place and it was essentially rent to own. So they were, with their rent, they were putting down towards their down payment eventually, and then towards the mortgage. And it's just like, I had no idea I mean, we're talking like quintessential suburbs too. And it was a nice neighborhood.
Yeah, that might be a better idea than I think it is. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much all he has. So he has a really decent platform for one thing, but pretty decent idea. Which leads us to the final option. Una, I know you pretty well. You want to vote left as fuck. You want to.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Dusty.
You want to, instead of voting blue no matter who, you want to vote progressive because it's the bestessive.
Yeah.
Well, good for you because you have 2 final options. The first is Quanta Francis, and she is the head of Sykes Capital Management, which uses AI to figure out what sort of stocks to buy and which ones not to buy. And she's also the owner of 2 websites for her campaign that kind of reference each other back and forth. So you end up kind of in this knowledge circle. It's not great. It's like parts of the website are really well designed and very artistic, but it also kind of looks like some of it was stolen in some regards.
Ooh.
It's not, I don't know. But yeah, the rotational website from Quanta for Mayor all the way to Madam Mayor and then back again is it's a bit odd. But the thing that really I don't like about it is she does list out a number of plans, but almost all of them are form a group, see what the problems they think exist, and then fix those problems.
Oh no, not committees.
She has a whole section called #Improve NYC that lists out all the different plans that she has of fixing like public housing and taxes and things like that. There's not a link to any of them. It's just a list. It is really not good to have that 4 days before the election.
This all sounds like a parody of a progressive candidate. It's like all that's missing is for you to tell me that preferred pronouns are they, them.
Oh my God.
We're gonna get a committee to consider development in these areas of New York, DVD.
But you know what? You do have a legit second option. And it's probably the biggest surprise story of the election. because it focuses on a high school teacher by the name of Kathy Rojas, who is running as the candidate for the Party of Socialism and Liberation. Now, the PSL does have a bit of a reputation of being kind of culty because you can't really say that much shit about the woman who leads the party without getting kicked out. And you can't really talk shit or make any changes without her believing it's okay. So it's kind of
interesting. Can we just call it the pumpkin spice latte campaign?
That would be so. But Kathy Rojas might actually be their first serious candidate in decades. So Kathy was born in Queens and is a second-generation American. Her parents immigrated from Colombia. Her mom was a housekeeper and her dad is an auto body painter. And while working as a teacher in Queens at a school for recent immigrants, she has also worked as a community organizer, aiding in the push to keep Amazon out of Queens, ensuring food for people during the pandemic, and was a member of New York City Cop Watch, which films police whenever they stop anyone, which is something I would recommend anyone do.
Yeah.
A pair of things that make Kathy's run so unique. For one, especially compared to so many other Socialist Party races, her internet team is excellent. She has really good advertising. Everything is crisp and neat. Sounds good. It's very, very good branding, very good design work.
It's professional.
Yeah, 100%. It looks fucking professional.
What a concept.
But the most prominent difference is she's actually gotten an endorsement from a major party elected official.
Do tell.
So she ended up getting the endorsement of Democrat State Senator Julia Salazar. Salazar is a member of the Democratic Socialists. She's had a really rough go of things, mainly because a lot of the more conservative Jewish forces in New York City found out that she considers herself Jewish and decided they were going to try to blood libel her as much as possible, reverse blood libel by saying you're not actually Jewish.
Oh.
And so she had a really rough go for a while, but she just won re-election by a landslide. She's pretty much has the job for as long as she wants it. But she came out and endorsed Kathy, which even for a Democratic Socialist within a major party is still big because people in major parties aren't really allowed to endorse third-party candidates.
Yay!
As for Kathy, she doesn't so much have a platform as she has a list of demands.
Ooh,
which
yes, a woman who knows what she wants.
Speaks to me pretty well. So she wants to increase taxes on anyone making more than $1 million a year.
Yeah.
She wants to create a public works division that always has work available for anyone who wants it.
Beautiful.
She wants to completely defund the NYPD over a 3-year period and reallocate all their money to social services.
Mm-hmm.
She wants to cancel all rents and mortgages and forgive debts to renters and homeowners that were incurred during the pandemic.
Yes.
She also would like New York City to become completely rent control, banning landlords from charging more than 20% of the tenant's household income.
Ooh, I just got chills.
I feel like that would be the biggest legal fight ever, but I'd buy the popcorn to at least watch it.
100%.
I don't know if it would work out, but I would watch that shit. She wants to seize empty storefronts and properties for affordable housing. The only caveat that I have to this is she doesn't say empty for how long.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah.
I think you kind of need an honest time period.
Mm-hmm.
Are you sitting on this for tax breaks?
Yes.
Is this just empty for just to say that you own a property in New York?
Right. Are you in dire straits and that's why it's empty? Like, could you use some help?
Yeah, multitudes of reasons. She wants to make all needed repairs in public housing, use the increased taxes on millionaires and billionaires to make the MTA and subway free. But then New York police wouldn't have anything to do because they couldn't stop people who were evading fares.
But then what would Andrew Cuomo cry about with the conjoined ownership of said MTA?
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I could see the state really not liking that idea whatsoever.
Mostly just be an asshole, but yeah.
She wants to end mass incarceration and cash bail, which I can fuck with.
Mm-hmm.
She wants to fully fund all the H&H hospitals, the public hospitals in New York, and build new ones in areas that need them the most.
Yeah.
Offer free childcare to all families, which she doesn't really have a plan behind this. It'd be really cool if possible, because you're already doing a lot with that extra tax money, and I don't know how much you're increasing taxes by.
Yeah.
So
or how slippery some of those millionaires are going to be.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. And finally, and I think this would probably be her biggest legal fight, is she would ban ICE from entering the city and grant voting rights to all people who live in New York City, regardless of citizenship status.
That's a huge legal problem, but I applaud the fight.
Yeah.
Like I believe it, like I am fully behind her in terms of the reasoning behind that. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think she would lose the voting rights for undocumented citizens pretty quickly. There are a number of people, including Eric even, who have brought up the idea that they should be allowed to vote at least for municipal elections or decisions of deciding where the money goes within your community.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's at least banning ICE from the city at least starts a question and at least starts a conversation.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be a sanctuary city, why the fuck is ICE even allowed in?
Yeah. What the fuck does sanctuary mean?
Exactly. Yeah. Chicago's a sanctuary city and ICE has an office downtown.
Great. Yep. And also the Chicago cops, but who's counting?
Great. And that's it. Going into election day, New Yorkers, those are your options. And sure, betting sites have the chances of Adams winning at 98%. And the most recent polls have Eric up 61-25 over Curtis. But you know what? Fuck it, man. New York's a weird town and it's full of literally every kind of person and even a few people who have never existed before but do now.
Yep.
Do whatever the fuck you want. And maybe, just maybe, we'll finally get to see a third-party candidate kick some unexpected ass on election day.
Yeah,
it could
hopefully
be really cool.
Kathy.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kathy stands a solid chance. I mean, Raja Flores deserves at least 1%. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of really decent people who I think will surprise people by how well they do. But I mean, then again, I think we also have to prepare ourselves for the fact that, Eric might get 75% of the vote. Curtis will get 24. Everyone else will barely get 1%. And then we'll get to look down at Virginia and see Terry McAuliffe lose and get a whole month of people blaming Princess Blanding for having the audacity to run against two white dudes.
Oh.
So I'm excited for Tuesday. It's gonna be weird. Yeah, I think I'm mostly preparing for Tuesday to be a massive disappointment in a lot of regards. I'm mentally preparing for India Walton to lose. I'm mentally preparing for Jacob Fry to win re-election. Mentally preparing for Glenn Youngkin to win the governorship in Virginia. I don't think a lot of good is going to come in 2021. I think a lot of really shitty think pieces are going to come out from this election.
Damn it, Dusty.
But I'm holding out hope. I'm holding out at least enough hope that, who knows, Kathy Rojas might do well enough that the Party for Socialism and Liberation will get a boost. I don't really want them to be the Socialist Party that gets it, but fuck it. We're kind of low on good options right now. And I mean, who knows? Terry McAuliffe might win. They're still going to bitch about fucking Princess Blanding running. Mm-hmm. And who knows? Jacob Fry might lose. But yeah, it's certainly going to be an election day. Yeah. Oh yeah, we should do a Fuck, Marry, Kill. We haven't done that.
Yes. Okay, great. Excellent.
All right. So yeah, out of the people running for New York City mayor, who would you fuck, who would you marry, and who would you kill?
Or who would you politely ask to leave?
Oh yes, banish. Fuck, marry, banish.
Fuck, marry, banish. I mean, probably banish Eric. Okay. I just don't have a good feel. It's just like, New York's gotten so burned by so-called liberals. Yeah. And then I think I would fuck Raj because a doctor, come on. And then marry Kathy because she's going to take care of me.
Ooh. That's a good point. I would actually reverse Kathy and Raha just because I think marrying Raha, I could see that becoming a very deep connection. I think Kathy would be very fun to be with on a regular basis, but maybe not 24 hours a day. I think it would just be my own, what's the word I'm looking for? My own accidental nonsense of just still being slightly more conservative than her in a lot of really dumb ways. So I think that would probably make the marriage very difficult at times.
I get that. I hear that.
And banish. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, I think. I think Bill Pepitone makes sense to be the one to banish, but he's already in Staten Island, so what the fuck am I going to do?
Right. I feel like there's so many obvious banish choices.
Yeah. You know what? I think you're right. I think it's got to be Eric. Just let him live in New Jersey. Let him, cop around there. Let him be mayor of Fort Lee or some shit.
Yeah. Go be mayor of Fort Lee.
Yeah. Go be... Go be a failed governor candidate or something.
Go live under the bridge and ask people to answer your riddles.
That is a better system than tolls.
I agree.
And of course, people...
Trolls, not tolls.
Oh my God. People would be bitching on Twitter that someone's like spoiling the answer ahead of time. If they don't know the answer, they don't deserve to come to Jersey.
It's a dude with a cane. That's the joke.
Dude, it's time. The answer's always time. Anyway, well, thank you for joining us on Gadfly this week. I hope this was educational. I hope we learned something.
It was for me.
Yeah.
Forgot that there was a New York mayoral election.
Oh my God. If y'all would want, I'm going to be live tweeting that night. So feel free to check us out on the Gadfly Twitter. We would be twitching, doing things on Twitch. I don't fucking know. Either which, I got shit to do. I don't have time to learn a Twitch. Maybe in 2022 we'll do a Twitch.
There we go. I feel like we should. After we do the movie watch thing, our next shtick is if we get so many listeners, we have to do as many push-up planks as there are planks in a given candidate's response.
You overestimate my planking and push-up ability.
I overestimate my own. That's the fun.
Well, look forward to that failed promise, and we'll see you next week on Gadfly. I am walking here. Gadfly is a production of Added Serotonin. Our episodes are edited by Brianna Valentine of Rem Alternus Productions. Our theme song is Sophomore Makeout by Silent Partner, and you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at GadflyPod.
Ready to level up your cosplay game? Check out the Geek Forge on Etsy. With a variety of props to give your photos that extra spark, you'll find just what you need. Hold magical fire in the palm of your hand, or take a potion to restore your mana. With a large variety of colors, you can choose your own magical flavor for your cosplay. Bring drama to your photo shoots with these vibrant props and more, all available at the Geek Forge. Are you ready to level up your cosplay?